So hello, welcome to PUTINWORKTV. We've really enjoyed watching your journey and growth as an artist / creator in the New England scene, and really want to hear more about your story. Our focus here is allowing our guests to tell their story front and center without judgment or opinion. That's the motto. Let's dive straight in. How did it all begin? Guyclaude. And the only reason why I know how to say your name, Guyclaude, I should say, is because I'm Haitian, and Guy is a very Haitian name.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it.
Yeah. So, Guyclaude. I'm Mona's kid. You know, my dad's name's actually Guy. I was named after. Well, my name is a combination of my father's first name and middle name. So, Guyclaude is how it is, and it's good. Thank you for saying my name the way that you do, because a lot of people always get my name twisted, either in pronunciation or spelling. So it's an honor to be able to even share space like this. But my name is Guy. Well, you can call me Guy for short. Singer-songwriter, producer, record producer. And but most importantly, I'm a person. I'm someone who loves telling stories. A Family Affair is out. Well, it's been out for the last year, and I think that was one of the best places to kind of see what it's like.
Amazing album, by the way.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But it's a combination of two people sharing two experiences that have lived under the same roof, watching the same kind of things go on.
You guys are brothers, real brothers.
That is my blood brother. You know, we're 2.5 years apart. Clark is my younger brother, same mom, same dad. And I think it was God that allowed that circumstance to be the way it is. So I'm grateful for it.
Most definitely, man. So what was it like growing up where you're from? I know coming from a Haitian background, I can already tell there were certain laws and certain regulations you had to adhere to as a kid. Mm-hmm. It was obey and listen. Mm-hmm. Don't think for yourself. Mm-hmm. These are the dangers of the world. Mm-hmm. So what was it like growing up where you're from? Yeah,
so a lot of Haitian Americans, Haitians in general, know the 3 L's. The
L'église, l'école, la guy. And that's how you know it's bad, because we harmonize at the same time without having to think about it.
Yeah. So a lot of my life was around church, school, and home. And I think it made a difference because I have an undeniable relationship with God. And I think that was molded because of the foundation. It was manifested and expressed the way it is because of the foundation I had growing up at home. My mother's a very spiritual woman, and the denomination of being Adventist really was pivotal in how we showed up. Because there would be things like Friday nights we don't go out. You know, like we stay home. We spend
7 days Adventist.
Yeah, so 7-day Adventist is like the Sabbath is the most sacred thing because it's our time of rest. And I think even outside of it, like being at this age, I think it's even more important now than it was when I was younger, seeing the value in giving myself space to be present, even in a meditative space. I do definitely share the Haitian experience about like parents being like, yeah, like my word is bond. Like, and this is it. And I think growing up, it was hard being an artist. However, my mother was the first person to put a guitar in my hand. She bought me my first one at like 16.
What was that experience like, picking it up? It just felt like second nature?
Yeah. It was, the whole reason I got into music in the first place was because of the emotional impact that it had on me.
That was going to answer another question I had for you. So that's how music impacted your life and altered your life. That was an inquiry I had for you. So expand on that a little more.
So I started, the thing that said, okay, I wanted to do music. And it's funny because I never really thought of music too much. But I said to myself, while watching a video of this guy play acoustic, classical guitar, some like cover of a song. I was at the dinner table around 11 p.m. and I was just like, I was brought to tears. I think I was about 15. And then I said, if someone's able to make me feel to this capacity, and I'd never met them before, how can I bring that to someone else?
That's powerful, man.
What can I do in order to break the barriers of human experience through sound and song? So then I told myself, like, okay. And there's a lot of things in life that I haven't been consistent with, you know. But music is just always stuck there for some reason, and instead of fighting it, I followed. it wasn't easy because of the home, like answering the previous, following up from the previous question as well. It's just like, because of home structure, like my family hasn't seen an artist succeed before. Clark and I are the first people to actually like say this is not just a dream, this is a career. But we're doing it, you know, like we moved to Atlanta like to spend time and to grow as a business decision. You know, we've put music out, we've marketed music, we've been there, like, and in my most broken spaces, I was able to find beauty even in myself, you know, by creating music, by writing songs, by being able to share space with people and perform these songs, you know, and meeting people where they're at with who I am.
You followed your heart and you broke past boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the thing when people say it's important to take risks. A risk is something that doesn't give you a specific outcome or a result. It's your intent for this to happen. It's your good work towards this that's created what you've attained.
Exactly.
And so my next question for you is, you said you're a singer-songwriter, but like, what does your discography look like? What do you have to provide to everybody else?
It's slim. Like, speaking honestly, like it's slim in comparison to what goes on in my mind. But I started off making music. You okay?
Yeah, I'm holding in the cup.
Okay, look good. Good, yeah, get that one.
Damn.
That's real.
I needed that one. All right, go ahead.
So,
yeah.
My discography of music released is not an accurate reflection of who I am.
Not at all.
However, not in its qualitative space. I think every song that I've released takes a moment that I've gone through and then puts it into this world. You know, I think, for example, EP I dropped, Love Faces. That was an understanding of this feeling, what I considered to be a feeling at the time, and putting it in different positions and understanding perspectives. Am I heartbroken? Have I been betrayed? Or what is it like to fantasize about this thing, about being close to another person? Like, that's really like where it came into fruition, and then reimagining and recreating those works. And I think now my discography, like the music, like A Family Affair, for example, where it's like songs like Automatic, you know, like I can have fun, you know. And I think there's an essence of music that's kind of missing in that because we're too busy. A lot of people are too busy chasing the numbers. They're playing the numbers.
They wanted to be a hit.
Yeah.
Instead of music that'll last 10 years.
Exactly.
I'll be able to go back and say, Guyclaude gave me the best experience. And even 15 years later, I have my own life. I can still go back to this dude and transport myself to the portal, to the moment where I knew the song meant something to me specifically.
Exactly.
And so that's going to tie into my next question. What do you try to give your audience with your music, and when you songwrite and when you produce? What do you try to give your audience with the creation you made? Because I don't think, as well, just like you said, that your discography is a direct representation of what you can do, because you're multi-talented. So what do you try to give your audience with your creation? Is a better word than just for music, because it's the sound, it's the experience you're providing. Because there is an engineer behind the song, right? And what I mean by engineer, I don't mean the literal job. Engineer as in there has to be a certain structure that follows certain patterns and rhythms to appeal to somebody's psychology when they hear a sound. Yeah. It's the artist's job to create an expression of who they are so that they know who they're listening to and for what. Exactly. So what do you try to give?
Therapy.
Yes. That's probably the fastest answer, the most confident answer. That means you've thought about it a lot. That's what it does for you, and that's what you've seen it do for somebody else. Explain that, man. Because I look at music like my therapy, and I haven't heard that answer. Yeah. Well, I have, but in different forms.
And we run from so much as people. Like, I think we listen to music more so as an escape rather than to face things. And I think it's good to make fun songs. It's good to even make hits. Those things are very lucrative things. and it's good to make the music that people can just throw their hands up, dance, like rage to, and just like forget about all the cares in the world. But what happens when you need to think? Who do you listen to? Like what happens when you feel alone right now? It's like you wanna feel connected to somebody. Like that's why people like a Juice World, like a Tentacion.
But so appealing to the rest of the world.
It speaks to an era, a time. Like that's why I'm a fan of Clark, but like it's not even because he's my brother. It's because he's honest. Like he says I want to like What a Life, for example, like is an encapsulation of a moment, of a series of experiences built into one moment and then pushed out into the world to be something. And my music is the same way. The music that I work on, the music that I continue to work on, the music that is to come, especially, is what happens when someone says, okay, let's have a conversation. Whether it be like, okay, I'm interested in you, and here's the things that go on in my mind when I'm interested in you. Or, oh, I feel by myself. Like there's a reason why in the album, in A Family Affair, how Here We Are with Miranda Ray, like why it was written and made a certain way, like why I made that record a certain way, because I needed people to feel, you know. And it's like even in that, it's like pardon if my message seemed to get on your pages. I know we should grow through some seasons, but as trees shed their leaves to gain new ones, when did I feel stuck with my bruises? Like this is like people need to hear that type of stuff, you know. And we run from them because people are too scared to be them, who they really are meant to be, because they have to portray an image. If I could be frank, I don't got shit to lose. Like, God gonna hold me how God need to hold me. But most of all, just like, if you're given a gift, you're supposed to do everything through love if you have it. That's just what it is. Because irrevocable is yours, and people take advantage of their gifts to do the wrong thing. Or like
and that's how bad experiences end up coming.
Yeah, people are traumatized. Look at the culture that we're in right now. Look at the culture. But it's like that doesn't matter. Because right here and now in this present moment, I have an opportunity to give people an opportunity to feel something, to be themselves. Let's see.
So, I want to ask you, bro, what's your creative process? And what'd you learn from that?
There was a couple people that changed my creative process. It was Clark. Clark has always like been there like in my process, and Lucas. Funny, it's amazing producer, amazing songwriter. One of my favorite artists. Like, and then it always came back to this question of why. So now it's like sometimes I just sit there and I'm just like, okay,
why am I doing this?
Yeah, like where am I? You know. Where am I and why does it matter? You know, and this is like free game type stuff. You ask yourself, who am I right now? Am I talking for me or for somebody else? You know, people always do this stuff subconsciously. Like in rap music, you know, you talk about you. Or you might talk about a circumstance, depending on what lane that you're in. Or mix of these things. But for me, like when it comes down to writing songs, like if I'm working with people, we start the basic thing. The first thing, what's going on? Who's involved? What does this mean? How does it feel? What does it smell like, taste like? How do we approach this and how do we build a world? And then the music kind of like, you know, once we ask those questions, we let the music flow from these words, these sensory images, like these sensations, these cravings and desires. And then from there, it's just like we continue to produce the work.
My God, you just said something deep there, profound. You basically said it's an accumulation, asking yourself questions, and you have all the answers is what is the game you just gave out. Because it's almost like when you've asked yourself the question, you've made the reality a possibility.
Yes.
You've brought it into effect that by asking yourself the question, there's a chance that you already know the answer. Yeah. And that answer creates more questions, which creates more answers. Mm-hmm. And that answer is supposed to elicit action, because at the end of the day, it always comes to you.
Yeah.
It always comes to you.
It's never left. It's just you asking questions only turns stone. Like, so the more you ask, the more you find. Like, that's It's how it works. You know, it's like, and the reason why some records might not hit with some people, like, is just because they're asking the wrong questions. You know, it's like they're not being honest enough. Or maybe they're running from something that's really there that they need to talk about.
And we can sense it, but we don't know what it is.
Exactly.
I think that humans do things for two reasons. They either, and like you said, they are running away from pain, or they are running towards pleasure.
Most definitely. And that's just the human. That's the body doing its job. The spirit's gonna tell you what you need to know. Like, but it's just like you have the choice to ignore it.
Are you gonna listen to it?
Exactly.
So, what do you wish you would have known before you started? Somebody pull you aside, like, yo, Guy, I gotta tell you, before you get into this, you better know that this is gonna take this, and this. It's gonna require sacrifice, dedication, put in time, a lot of times where you're gonna feel like giving up, but that's because you're so passionate, you care so much. What is it that you could tell somebody out there right now listening? These are the things you should know before you start. Clear and cut.
Don't do it for money.
One. That's a big one.
Don't do it for money. Don't do it for external validation. And most importantly, discipline. Discipline is the most necessary piece. It's more important than your motivation and your passion. If you don't have a strong enough why that can keep you disciplined to get out of bed and get to work, this is not for you. It's not for you. Just
that's where you draw the line.
Find something else to do. Find something else that's less maintenance, because music is just, you won't find too much money in the beginning. You'll get paid, and there's a lot of bread in music, but then it's like, that's just what it is. You're doing it for the bread. It's like, and some people might be like, oh, I'm doing it for the love. Oh, I'm doing it for the love. It's just like, okay, then you can do music as a hobby or like as passion work and wait until something might blow up. But like, this is a business.
Yeah, and you have to put your all into it, risking the fact that you may not know where your next meal is.
You won't. You just won't, unless you work a job while you do music. Like, this is what it is. But discipline is the only thing that will keep you. Faith and discipline are the only things that will keep you going in music. Because you will not want to do this anymore. There will be a day where you don't want to do something in music. Like, you might be an engineer and you might be tired of mixing records. Or mastering records. You just listen to too many. You might be a performer and you'd be like, oh, all these venues are just the same. I don't want to do it. There will be a time. There will be a time where passion will feel the sun. It's a fire. That's just what happens.
And it'll get short-circuited, but your discipline keeps you.
Yeah.
That's, I would say you're right, because all the strong men, all the men in our life, you look at them, and it's the discipline that makes you respect them so much. It's because no matter what you may feel about them, how you may feel towards them, disagreements, it's like, or even, it doesn't even have to be a male figure, but an authority figure, somebody you respect, is the discipline they have to never let up and to let themselves fall into weakness. So I'm gonna segue into asking you, how does your personal life and your creative process interfere sometimes? Like, what's that, oh shit, all right, my life and art just came to the middle?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Time management and feelings. A lot of us do things, like in music, like when you're doing music full time, it's more independent work unless you get a situation. So the thing that comes into the fold is just like, once again, that discipline thing. Time management is super important. And there'll be times where I mismanage the one thing I can't get back. You know, like, I can't go back and replay the moments. I can't blah blah blah. Like, you know, you're gonna feel pressure from a lot of corners, because like, what rent's due, your bills gotta get paid, and if your shit's not hitting, then it's just like, okay, you can't. Then what are you gonna do? You're gonna be homeless off of a dream? Like, no. It's like, especially because music needs money. Like, business needs money. You know, you can make music for free, but in order for it to do well, you need a system, a machine behind it that's able to funnel it, that's able to fuel the business. So there have been instances where I said, it's like, okay, I feel like doing one thing when I should be doing another.
It's the contradictions.
And so, like, that's something that I continue to work on. Just like, bro, your feelings don't mean shit.
Yeah.
Like, it really doesn't matter because your feelings can change. Like, you know, relationships, dynamics.
They're
passions,
fickle.
They're fickle. Like, I'm not hyper religious. Not that it matters or anything, but like the Bible says, it's just like the heart's fickle. You can't lean on your own understanding. Like, because you're going to think that something is right and you'll be loud about it and then you're really wrong. You know, like, oh, it's supposed to, you know, how many times people walk down, especially to Atlanta, like, they might be like, oh, it's going to be so cheap. But then it's just like, bro, $1,200 is $1,200 a month still. You still got to pay it. And if
because you said it was cheap, but now are you going to be able to pay that $1,200 no worries now? Now it's like, oh, wait, no.
And minimum
you
wage
can't
down
borrow.
there is different. You know, Massachusetts, 15 an hour is like glorious.
Glorious, yeah.
You know, like, but then you step into the rest of the world and you're like, no, you're in a bubble, my guy. Like this is not, it's not sweet. It's not sweet. And your time management, your focus, and how you feel about some things, like, you really got to pick your priorities, my boy. Because if you don't, you'll see what happens.
You get ate up. My cousin told me, I was in New York with him once, and he was showing me how he had worked on a building. It was a skyscraper, 41st floor. Just doing big stuff, big time. And he told me, he was like, there's 3 things in New York you need. One of them, any of them, master them, and you can survive. You have to create, generate, or innovate. If you don't, you're a rat on the street compared to the rest of the city.
Yep.
And you'll be okay living in pleasure and living with self-loathing for not activating the life force within you to go chase or to fulfill your purpose.
And after a while, it's your fault.
It has to be.
You can't blame your parents for something
It has
like that
to be.
once you know. It's like, oh, I can do differently. It's like, no, now it's you. Now, because you've acknowledged that you can, that's why people say ignorance is bliss, because it's easier to blame somebody than to take accountability. So once the mirror is looking at you and it's just like, oh, hey man, you're in this position because you mismanaged, you didn't activate your life force, you didn't say enough is enough. And it's all right. That's you. That's you. Nobody's gonna feel sorry for you at the end of the day. Like, if you pass, even if you die from that stuff, they'll be like, dang, that sucks. Dang, he always had so much potential. She always had so much potential. They always
Didn't do nothing with it. They won't finish.
Yeah.
That's a fact. So what would you tell somebody who's looking to start their career and get to where you're at in terms of just being able to have enough courage to move to Atlanta, you know, to make money off their music, to songwrite great songs, to have people give you good reviews, repost, show love publicly, you know what I mean? Opportunities to come to you, and it was almost as if it just came to you and you don't know how it happened, but really you've been planting the seed for a long time, and it was just now your time to rise to the occasion.
Know your why. If you're doing it for bread, like I said before, if you're doing it for money, don't do it. Like, don't do it yet, or get a job, because once you have money coming in, do you still feel strongly about it? Like, you know, like, oh, I want to be able to make millions of dollars off of music. Like, okay, cool, but like tech is like making 6 figures clean off the gate, off a $1,500 boot camp. Go do that if you want bread, like, and you'll be set for life. Music is a political, people pleasing based industry.
Entertainment.
The entertainment.
You rely on people.
Yeah, you rely, like, customers, consumer markets, people. Especially, it's a data focused industry right now, you know, like, and it's just like, it doesn't matter, you know. So know your why. Don't do it for money. Don't do it for external gratification. Like, if that's the case, you find something else. Find something easier to do, and then go back and see if you actually like music. You know, work a nice little job and be like, okay, then if it's in you to do music, get your discipline together. Build another skill too. Like, if you're a producer,
know how to do something else. Know how to do something else besides one thing. Because
being the artist is cool, but very few people are artists and stars. Like, there's a lot of people in music that might be local artists and just stay local, you know, and that's fine. There's people who are, like, you know, regional, you know, but to be a star, like and then there's a superstar, You know, can you move millions of people in a room? Can you lead? Or are you just like a one-trick pony, I can perform, that's it? You know? But then it's like you also need perspective. So that's why learning another skill is important. You might have to be able, you might need to engineer yourself. You don't know what's going to happen. You might be in a room. The only reason why you're in the room is because you can engineer. And because you can engineer, it opens up hundreds of other doors for you.
Because now, prior, because you couldn't do this, they weren't even willing to respect their mind. Because they didn't know what you... And you said something right there. You said you don't know what's going to happen. See, that's the thing. When you force yourself into certain situations, the events that happen, right, in consequence of you doing something different, it's like a domino effect. Because immediately now, whatever was going to happen before you did what you did isn't now. Mm-hmm. You've got a new deck of cards, a new deck of possibilities. So I think that's very important. I want to ask you, what do you enjoy the most? Before I get into the nitty gritty, what do you enjoy the most? Like, what's the thing that says to you in your head, you know what? I'm never leaving this shit. This is life
or in life?
Yes, in music. You know, where do you get your dopamine hit from music?
Vulnerability. This is gonna sound real sadistic, but like crying. Like when people have an emotional release, like that stuff is the most satisfying thing I could ever find. Like whether we're writing a song or like putting a record together, like performing. Whenever I see people like get moved, like or silence in a room, like those type of things, like people are just like absorbed and engaged. You can see it in their eyes. It's just like, yo, I'm here with you.
They're in the present.
Yeah, like that stuff is the most satisfying thing ever. It's just like, it could be 20 people, it could be 2 people, it could be 200,000, 2 million. But like everybody, you know, something I like to do is like, I like to do breathing during my sets. And like listening to a whole room inhale together. Exhale, just like, yo, we're all really connected in this space. Even if we'll never see each other again, they'll be like, yo, I remember when I was as close as I could be to someone. You know? I was like, that's the most gratifying thing.
That's wild, because that's how you make your music a drug. Mm-hmm. Because if you're looking to move people, you're going to have to put it in a certain reality that could move people. Mm-hmm. Which is going to make the message, you know, go for their subconscious. Yeah. Go for their internal emotions and alter egos rather than feel good music. Yeah. So what's been the hardest part of your journey as an artist? And I don't like to say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I like to say, what do you see yourself becoming? Because that's probably more important. Because who you're shaping yourself up to become now through little habits and small successes and responses to adversity in your life are going to determine who you become.
Yeah. My biggest thing was realizing that I'm a person too. That, well, it's like Spider-Man, right? Like, you might watch Spider-Man save the world or whatever, this whatever global catastrophe happening in New York. But then Peter Parker might get evicted from his crib. Might end up having to move back in with his mom, or like death happens. You know, it's just like the human part of it all, like where I have to keep up with life, and you can't just be an artist until you just become a full-time artist. And a lot of us look at it as passion work rather than a career. And I think that everything changed once my mind did. And it was just like, okay, I'm a person in a career field, and I want to be the most successful person in my career field. You know,
it was a mindset switch.
Yeah, that was the hardest thing to do, to be like, okay, I have to balance these two beings, and then really look at them as one that has to be loved equally.
Man, they're insightful. So what about, who do you see yourself becoming?
Me.
Okay, describe that.
The same person that can do this right after doing this or that event. The same person that can pack out a tour bus, like tour dates. But me. It's just like me, who do I want to be? Just me. What do I want my circumstance to look like? Everybody around me. Everybody that is in my immediate vicinity that has an equal level of commitment to this thing of entertainment, to be put in positions of success. I want to be an investor in several businesses that people that I consider my friends, my peers, my colleagues, my family, that they start out like, okay, I got you. Like, let's get it.
Let's fund this.
And, like, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Global. Beyond music, because I think music is a piece of me, but it's not entirely who I am. Music is just my meeting ground, but a lot of it comes down to teaching. Like, so being this might sound crazy.
If it sounds crazy, it's the truth.
Global leader. It's just what it is.
Like an ambassador type of. A global leader, as in people look to you in the world.
Like,
you can move masses.
Yeah. It's just like that type of thing where the resurgence comes, the people who need to stand up will stand up. So what I want to do, where I imagine myself being, as long as God keeps my feet in one necessary accord, and I stay committed, is I want to change the lives of millions of people.
Well, you've put it out there, bro, and it can happen because the moment you utter it, the universe will give you what you want. You just have to keep having that right intention. And so, where can you see the state of New England hip hop rap scene going? You've been a part of it a long time. Mm-hmm. You've been a part of the culture. You've been able to go to Atlanta, so now you have two different perspectives. You know what goes on down there, but you also know the heart this city has, and the pitfalls it's had when it comes to breaking into the industry. So just what's possible for us in 5 years?
New England is going to be an epicenter. It's already happening. Like, the thing that's really important, especially with things like putting work, like, we've seen little happenings of people saying, oh, something's clicking. Or like, oh, let's make a group, or let's make a duo, or like, I'm about to break out being an artist. But the problem with like an old guard per se is like a lot of people stay just in the city. Like, oh, you're just like you're in Boston head, or you're in New England head. Now these people are starting, like us as the younger generations, like we're starting to push past that. Like you have people like Van Buren, but even people like Stiz who was able to go to LA, or like Bia who was able to tour. It's like. Or like Joyner being able to do what he got going on, but like I love Van Buren because of what's going on, and like and there's several other crazy people in the city like Glass House, others like C4, Clark, and stuff like that, just to name a few. But then now like people are establishing infrastructure. Put in work is a pivotal moment for infrastructure, and people are like. The importance of that is like we're growing and developing individually, and like the entities like Putting Work's going to develop into a premier media company that's able to put people in position to gain optimal exposure. Like Clark and I we had things like Family Famous, where it's just like, okay, we're showing that we can put on shows, pack that joint out. Like Van Buren says, like, okay, we can get multiple dudes in the same room, aligned with the same vision, and moving that intention and purpose. Like you have, and there's other collectives and artists and stuff like that, old and new, that are just like, nah, like, all right, cool. And with the emergence of businesses, like as businesses emerge, like and we like Black-owned businesses come into the fold to create these like pockets of concentrated culture. Like that's something that we've seen. Like I was a part of this thing called Black Cotton Club. Still like look, I'm still in that. Like Black Cotton Club in Boston, which was like a moving showcase. Like stuff like that comes into the fold, and it's just like it challenges artists, because nobody can ever say like, okay, there's no, like we don't know
nowhere to go.
where are black people gonna go and perform consistently? It was once a month for like years before COVID hit, and even through COVID and after, like it's still kicking. It's just like no. So New England in 5 years, one, we're gonna get more talent. The talent just has to be smart. Talent has to be smart. You have to be able to go and see the playing field of the spaces around us. I really don't see much people moving the way people from New England move. Like I really don't see much of it. It's like there's a certain level of grit that happens when a city's like on a bubble, like on a bubbling up or on a come up.
Because it's been coming for so long, so it comes through generations of people,
and
little by little.
We spoke it into existence. Like that's everybody. It's just like, oh, okay, and everybody was saying the same thing. It's like people are tired of the crab in the bucket mentality. Like so, people are like, oh, how about we collaborate? You know, and more people throw events inspires more people to throw events.
And more people want to come. Everyone wants somewhere to go where they feel as though it's their city, it's lit, and they're seeing creative black people. You know how many black people don't see other smart black people?
Yeah.
And what I mean by is like, not that they're dumb, but people who make moves that help not only themselves but others to even learn the gift of sharing, of value exchange, of I bring skills, you bring skills, we work together and we make it easy.
Empires were built off of specialization of labor.
Exactly. Say that again. Empires were built off
specialization of labor.
Y'all better write that fucking down. Guy just gave y'all some game. So, what is the most substantial moment in your career? Braggadocious. I came through, boom. And you just mentioned something about the sold out show that was at the Middle East, 180 people, full capacity, packed out. Is that the most substantial moment?
No.
Family
Famous. First show, second show. That was to do that. Like the Family Famous like events where people because that stuff was us establishing culture, black market, because it's like Middle East is Middle East. That's important. That stamps that's important to me because of not just me being a part of it, but because of how much Clark deserves that. I'm very violent about my love for Clark. You feel me? So it's just like seeing Clark be like, yo, I'm taking this shit over. I'm putting one of the best lineups together and I'm going to pack this joint up. And it happened. He was saying it and it happened. God aligned with Clark in that moment to make it happen and make it real. And the Family Famous thing happened down the street. It's black market, black owned. We coming in here, we packing this joint out, 200 plus people. We gonna celebrate blackness in the most optimal way.
That's it.
That's it. It's like, how are you gonna, and then especially, I think FF 19 or 20, there was one that I did, everything just felt right. Everything just felt right.
Like nothing could go wrong.
Nothing went wrong. I was busy running all over the place, damn near sweating. And then I just grabbed the mic and everything I didn't even remember it.
And
like that.
Those are the best moments. When you don't remember, you were fully immersed. You were in a flow state.
Yeah.
So what are some of the guiding forces in your life? You said you have an undeniable relationship with God, and that's been able to fuel your discipline, to stay with things, to stay committed. So what are some of the guiding forces in your life?
God, and I had to remember that I don't do music for me. It's because there's somebody asking for help and they're waiting for someone like me
to be able to speak to them. Wow, man, that's the trillest shit. Give it up. Yeah. That's the trillest shit. We gonna end the interview like that. I think you just gave me a bar.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you so much for coming to PUTINWORKTV. I'm glad you realize, the work being put in here, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't somebody worth knowing that the rest of the world should know. You put it out there front and center without judgment and opinion. I learned a lot. God knows somebody else watching this learned so much today. Yeah. You broke it down in simple terms, bro. And respect to you. You're doing great. You're doing amazing. Sold out show yesterday, full capacity. Y'all go check him out, Guyclaude. Guyclaude. Look at me. But anyways, thank you for coming to Put in Work TV. And, you know, if there's anything you want to say to the people, let them know right now. Talk your shit. Give them a 1-2 punch.
Don't ever stop doing what you got to do for you. Love yourself. Let love come from everything that you do. My name is Guyclaude. You can call me Guy for short. This is Put in Work TV. Family affair. Out. Tune in, tap in. Bout it. Out. Tune in, tap in. Gotta Move On remix. Tune in, tap in. What a Life. Clark D. Out everywhere.
Peace.